Okay, let's just dive straight into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. We are looking at an absolutely incredible 2025 paper by Masashi Awata called Concordance Dynamics. And look, if you've ever felt like the standard models of theoretical physics leave, a few too many philosophical loose ends, you are going to absolutely love this. Awata is proposing a radical new paradigm. He's suggesting the universe isn't just some cold mechanical machine that's slowly winding down, but rather a deeply coherent, self-restoring system. Let's unpack exactly how he argues this.
So we have to start with the ultimate mystery. Physics has long taught us that the universe is governed by entropy, right? The idea that everything is slowly, inevitably decaying into chaos and disorder. But if that's the absolute truth, why does order keep spontaneously emerging all around us? I mean, how do you get the intricate spiral of a galaxy, the staggering complexity of biological life, or even just the focused clarity of human consciousness out of a system that is supposedly just falling apart?
Well, to answer that, we actually need a complete paradigm shift. For most of the 20th century, physics was built entirely on the paradigm of interaction. Bumping particles, exchanging energy, increasing entropy, statistical disorder. But the deeper we go into quantum mechanics, the more we realize that observation actually changes the system itself. And this implies something huge. The universe isn't just externally driven by blind forces, it's actually self-generated through something Awata calls inner coherence. Which brings us nicely to Section 1, Concordance Dynamics, a completely unifying framework that bridges physics, information, and consciousness into one coherent law. Right off the bat, in the abstract, Awata drops this profound idea. He proposes that the maintenance of order across physics, life, and the mind isn't about causal interaction. It's not about things just randomly bumping into each other. Rather, it's a continuous, self-restoring flow of what he calls concordance. You can kind of think of concordance as an underlying field of harmony or alignment that naturally seeks to correct and balance itself out.
And what's really amazing is how he translates this beautiful, almost philosophical concept into rigorous math. Behold, the concordance equation. Awata extends previous theories to propose a mathematical flow that literally unifies space-time curvature and quantum phase. It gives us matter, information, and order all wrapped up in a single, coherent description.
Okay, don't let the math scare you. Let's break down what it's really doing. The key player here is alpha, the concordance response coefficient. If you set alpha to 0, Awata's equation reduces beautifully to the standard geodesic equation, which is essentially the law of inertia, describing how objects move along curved spacetime. But when alpha is a finite number, something magical happens. The flow acquires a nonlinear self-correction. Simply put, this math proves the universe has an intrinsic ability to self-correct. The law of inertia and the universe's ability to heal its own order are actually part of the exact same universal law. Crazy, right?
All right, moving right along to Section 2, rethinking coherence and information to see how this completely flips our understanding of the quantum realm. So here is where Awata redefines decoherence. In standard quantum theory, when a system interacts with its environment, it decoheres. The wave function collapses, and the information is supposedly just lost to the void. But in concordance dynamics, information is never actually lost or collapsed. Instead, decoherence is seen as focalization. It's really just a reshaping of the concordance. So, naturally you're probably wondering, if the information isn't lost, where exactly does it go? Well, Awata explains it goes into the background concordant field, or the BCF. When information dissipates, the BCF absorbs it, and it forms the boundary conditions for entirely new coherence to emerge. So that information continually re-enters the system as rephased concordance. It's like the ultimate cosmic recycling program. You might actually be familiar with Landauer's principle from way back in 1961. It famously stated that erasing information costs physical energy. Awata takes this principle and extends it into a fully dynamic domain. In his framework, energy, information, and order aren't just trading places in some zero-sum game, they are continuously co-restoring one another. And if order is continuously restoring itself, well, that completely rewrites our understanding of time, bringing us to Section 3, a new era of time and temporal reconcordance. Because if the universe is constantly healing, time can't just be a one-way street of decay. Awata introduces the temporal reconcordance principle. In standard physics, the arrow of time moves strictly forward because entropy is always increasing. But here, Awata introduces an intrinsic time parameter. The arrow of time isn't governed by decay, but by the variation of the concordance potential over subjective experiential time.
Think about what that means.
The timeline isn't just a straight arrow mindlessly ticking forward. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a regenerating waveform. Each moment of now actually reorganizes past and future coherence as consciousness shifts. This is a massive conceptual leap. It provides this highly elegant resolution to the stubborn problem of time in quantum gravity and challenges that rigid block universe model. Time is active, it's phase distributed, and it's always regenerating.
Okay, so what about us? Are we just passive spectators here? Let's get into Section 4, Consciousness and the Cosmos.
We are not passive spectators at all. When we map this out, the connections are absolutely incredible. Whether you're looking at physical energy density, information entropy, or conscious local focus, Awata's framework shows they are all just different mathematical expressions of the exact same concordant flow. Consciousness isn't treated as some weird, unexplainable biological anomaly. It's a fundamental local focalization of the universe's own concordant field.
And to ground this right into our biology, Awata aligns his framework perfectly with the famous 1996 OR theory by Stuart Hameroff and Roger Penrose. Now, that theory suggested consciousness arises from orchestrated quantum coherence inside the microtubules of our grain cells. Concordance Dynamics gives that idea a universal bedrock. It shows that our conscious awareness is quite literally the universe focalizing its own coherent field right inside our minds. Which brings us to our final big concept, Section 5, the universe's breadth and dynamic equilibrium. In the paper's 7th section, Awata explores what he calls the ethics of concordant breathing. And it is such a beautiful, poetic metaphor. He describes coherence and decoherence not as some tragic cosmic battle between order and destruction, but rather as the twin breaths of the cosmos. It just totally reframes the very nature of existence.
Think of it like this. Inhalation is concordance. It brings everything into perfect phase, perfect alignment, which ultimately leads to total stillness. But a universe of pure stillness can't experience anything, right? So it must exhale. Exhalation is decoherence. It breaks that stillness, creating focalization, action, and the diverse reality we interact with every single day. The dynamic balance between breathing in perfect concordance and breathing out decoherence is the very essence of cosmic wisdom. Honestly, it's a profoundly optimistic view of physics. Just listen to this quote from his conclusion. "The universe does not decay, but remembers its own concordance. Entropy is not the death of order, but its breath." By elevating the preservation of concordance above just the mere preservation of energy, we get a universe that is alive, self-healing, and deeply, deeply interconnected. It's a massive paradigm shift that changes how we view physics, time, and of course, ourselves. So I'll leave you with this thought, to ponder long after this explainer is over. If your consciousness is literally the universe focalizing itself, what exactly are you breathing into reality right now? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and keep asking those big questions. See you next time.